Hello all and welcome to another Kevin Arrangement video. It's Art here with a deep dive for From Russia with Love. It's Bond Days number 3, 003, and we're in the deep dive of From Russia with Love. This is where I'm going to say two spoilers ahead. If you haven't watched this movie, don't watch this video. Come back to watch this video after you watch this film. This is the second Bond film of all time. It is Bond film number 2. Bond Days will not end at the end of the Bond films, by the way. It's going to continue because we're going to do books and games and things like that, so don't worry about that. But this is the second Bond film of all time. It again stars Sean Connery as Agent 007 James Bond, and it again has Bernard Lee as M and Lois Maxwell as Moneypenny, Miss Moneypenny. And it also has, again, the same director in Terrence Young. If Dr. No was the foundation and the entrance to the character, From Russia with Love is where they start hammering and chiseling away at the formula. From Russia with Love has a first pre-credit title sequence, proper pre-credit title sequence. It has an actual song, however, it plays at the end and not the beginning, but there is an actual From Russia with Love song. Robert Shaw, Daniela Bianchi, Pedro Almendantes, and Lena Lentz all star in the film in various roles. Lena Lentz is Rosa Klebb. We'll get to her in a minute. Robert Shaw is Donald Grant. Pedro Almendantes is Karen Bay. And Daniela Bianchi, who it's her first film, and that happens a lot in the Bond films, is the woman lured to bring Bond into a trap in Tatiana Romanova. So there you go with that. The pre-credit title sequence actually shows something very cool. It shows the Spectre training of Donald Grant. We see 007 first appear on stream, or who we think is 007 first appear on screen. And Donald Grant is training and hunting him down. He kills 007. And then when we see 007 fall to the ground, we see that the person who's wearing a 007 mask, he reveals him to be some random Spectre agent to play the part of Bond in training, who he kills. Probably somebody else they wanted to kill anyway. But to me, From Russia with Love is one of my favorite. I think it'd be number 2 behind You Only Live Twice as my favorite Sean Connery film, because it's so succinct. It is a direct sequel to Dr. No. They even bring up Dr. No. And From Russia with Love is, the whole plot is getting Spectre trying to get Bond out in the open so they can kill him. And also get the Russian Lecter, because they want a Russian Lecter, but they want to start the war between Britain and Russia in Istanbul, and things go awry there. This film kind of foreshadows a lot of later Connery films, like the helicopter scene foreshadows the one in You Only Live Twice, and the title sequence itself foreshadows the next film, Goldfinger, in that you see more vibrant colors. You don't see silhouettes of women, you see the actual woman, and you see bits and pieces of the film. as well tossed in there a little bit. So it's kind of, you can see Maurice Bender evolving the title sequence that he would come to perfect in later films, and I'll mention when he gets it right, when he starts to get it perfect. I mean, he gets it right from the get-go, but he starts to get it perfect relatively soon after this film. One of my favorite scenes is when he is on the train, and the first train fight sequence. I love that scene. I love that scene very, very much. It is one of my favorite scenes in the entire film. I think Robert Shaw and Sean Connery play that scene to perfection, because that scene, they kind of have dinner together, they talk, they act like chums, because Donald Grant has infiltrated the British Secret Service, and Bond doesn't know that it's not him until he's actually in a quite sticky predicament. And he uses an item that Q played for the first time in this film by Desmond Llewellyn. He would go on to play Q in 18 other Bond films. I believe, no, it's 18 other Bond films. Yeah. 18 including this one. So I guess it's 18 total, but he would play it the longest, and he would become... The Q scene is always one of my favorite scenes, and would grow into one of my favorite scenes in all of the Bond franchise. Still is to this day, even with Ben Whishaw playing Q. And it's one of the more cornerstone scenes in the book. It's also the M scene happens, and here the M scene is important because M's out of his office and waiting for Bond. Bond throws his hat and tries to play flirtatious with Moneypenny, and M is standing behind the door and kind of curtails that. And you actually get to see two M scenes in this, one with Bond and one without Bond. And that's kind of cool, because the one without Bond is when he sends the tape back to make sure that the Lecter is actually legitimately real, because they know it's a trap. They admittedly know it's a trap, but the bait is too good that they have to go after the bait in the Russian Lecter. Because remember, this is in the time of the Cold War, when America and Britain were both in a Cold War with Russia, and tensions were high, and anything that would give the Allies an advantage over the Russians would have been paramount to their cause. So in this form, I think From Russia with Love is a truly blue Cold War spy novel, and therefore it's a truly blue Cold War movie. Cold War spy movie. I love the scenes with Karen Bay, because I think Karen Bay secretly steals the show in this, because he's such a friend of Bond. And you've got the gypsy scene that's amazing. You've got the snipering scene that's amazing when he shoots the guy out of the girl's mouth. That's amazing. You also got to play that in the From Russia with Love video game that came out many years later. We'll get to that when we get to that game. Obviously. But Rosa Klebb is an interesting character to me. She is the main villain in the piece. Even though you do get to see Spectre, and you get to see your first glimpse of what would be Ernst Avro Blofeld petting the white cat, Rosa Klebb is the main villain in the piece, because Donald Grant is the henchman, and so is the chess guy whose name I can't remember. But the reason I say chess guy is because he's the Spectre analyst, and the first time you see him, he's at the World Chess Championships, and he wins them. So, and I think it's the only time you ever see chess in a Bond film too, so that's kind of amazing as well. But Rosa Klebb, there is a funny scene while we're talking about Rosa Klebb, I guess we'll get here now, is at the end when she kicks out her poison blade that's on the end of her shoe that you would see. You'll see that prop in later Bond films just sitting around Q's office. So that prop stays with the film franchise and makes an appearance in many films. But when after that fight scene and Tatiana shoots her and she goes down the wall and she's dead, there's no blood, and that to me is a blooper because there's no blood that goes down the wall. Also, it's a great spy film because when he gets to Istanbul, he goes into his room at the kind of near the beginning of the film. He goes into his room, does the bug check, and sees that it's wired completely. So then he changes it to the bridal suite to try to get some peace and quiet. Notices that is also wired. So he just deals with it and plays with it a little bit. And this you actually see Bond's animal magnetism, his sexual machismo, turn Tatiana because she thinks she's working for Russia, although she's being duped by Spectre and Rosa Klebb. She thinks she's working for Mother Russia to capture a British agent. And over the course of the film, in making love to her, he turns her into somebody that by the end of the film does defect. One of the things I also like about these early films is they actually state which Bond film is next. Nowadays we get James Bond Will Return, and that's all we get because they have no damn clue what the next movie is going to be titled or what it's going to be about. Part of that is because in the Connery era and some of the Roger Moore era too, we're in the era of the books. So it was just make the next book into a film, make the next book into a film. So it's partly that, but From Russia with Love is one of my favorites. I love how he Donald Grant on the train drugs Tatiana, Daniela Bianchi's character, and to escape they get off the train. He kind of carries her to this truck with a flower bed, and he throws her in the back and says, sleep it off in there, like, I've got work to do, go sleep it off in there, otherwise, you know, we part ways, because he's fully willing to help get her out of the country because he knows she's at risk for what she's done. Rightly or wrongly, she's at risk because she was duped. So he wants to save her, but he's perfectly fine with letting her die if she doesn't comply with what he needs, because he also needs to save his skin and also get the Lecter back to British soil and get himself to safety at the same time. So there's a bunch to unpack in this film. I love the Russian embassy scene where he notices that the Russian clocks are a little bit late, and the Russian consulate guy says Russian clocks are always on time. And then a minute after the explosive in the consulate was supposed to go off, then it does go off, and that's where he gets the Lecter. Oh, another funny scene that my brother, Gamer Buddies Era 15, actually picked out is there's a bunch of gas in the consulate, and he hands her the gas mask to put on because that's the chivalrous thing to do, and she constantly carries it. She never puts it on. Meanwhile, for part of the scene, they're surrounded by gas. It was like, we were both laughing because it's like, okay, how is he not coughing? He was coughing, but how is she not coughing? And how is she not passed out? So that was really, really funny. And that's another blooper in the film. I did like the down periscope and the spying on the Spectre meeting. I thought that was, or the Russian meeting. I thought that was pretty amazing as well. That was really a deep scene and a precursor to a scene that will come in Goldfinger that I think is more iconic and much more fun. So there you go with that. I think, to me, From Russia with Love is, if Dr. No is the template and the foundation, From Russia with Love is the progenitor to getting the formula down to a science. That's why From Russia with Love is important. Plus, it's a straight sequel, which we wouldn't see again until the Daniel Craig era, many years later. So, before I gush on too long, let me know what you thought of this video and what you think of it. From Russia with Love in the comments down below. Is there anything in the film that you think I missed that you would like me to cover? I will do so. Or at least we can discuss it down in the comments. I don't think I missed anything, because the film is only an hour and 55 minutes long, so I don't think I missed anything. But you know I make videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday at 12:30 p.m. Central, 10:30 p.m. Pacific, 1:30 p.m. Eastern. Please like, comment, subscribe. If you want to see more, please ding the notification bell to be notified when I upload a video. But because it's the holiday week, you're getting one more video tomorrow, and then I'm going on my 2-week hiatus, but we will return to that schedule in 2023. That schedule will stay the same. But until next time, happy watching for Heroes Only 007. And until next time, I'll see you again soon. And peace.